So I want to first do a quick screen share, sorry. Does everybody see the presentation okay? Good. Okay, so thanks for coming out tonight for Study Abroad 101. The goal of tonight is not necessarily that we'll touch upon every single question that you have, but really to provide as much information about study abroad and the steps and the process for studying abroad to help you begin the exploration, think about the opportunities that you have here while you're a student. I'm Marissa Atencio. I'm the Assistant Dean of Students and Director for Global Education here at Oglethorpe. I've listed the general email address there. You also can email me at matencio@oglethorpe.edu. And at this point, I'm really excited to start meeting with many of you in a Zoom advising session or start talking to you over email. I recognize a few names and look forward to connecting with many more of you. So what are we going to do tonight? So my hope, again, is to focus on the exploration and how important it is to really go through the process to identify and explore options with study abroad using via TRM or PTRL's Abroad portal. I put the link here and I'll follow up after today with the PowerPoint materials for all of you. We'll also talk about supporters and who your supporters are and what type of support you should be looking for, so who the connections are. Our website is a great resource. It's going to get better once we do some major revisions this spring. We'll talk about considering what those different program options are, the steps for studying abroad, some timelines, planning for study abroad isn't something that happens overnight. It's definitely something I want folks to recognize can take 6 months, maybe even a year. So those of you who are thinking about study abroad, even in fall 2022, it's not too early. I'm glad you're here. Financial planning is another component of study abroad, and I do have a separate event and focus topic around budgeting and financing study abroad. So we aren't going to get into the weeds today, but we'll have some introductions. And then we'll have some visitors today to talk about particular summer 2021 programs with Lead Abroad. I'll share a little bit about an Oglethorpe faculty-led program that's in the works for the summer, and then hear from some students in a panel. So hopefully a big high-level introduction with enough detail so that the next time we can meet, you have somewhere to start from. So let's talk about via TRM. So via TRM is a tool. It is a way for you to explore 24/7 thousands of different program options. And exploring study abroad really is something I want you to sit in for a little while, thinking about your individual needs. Study abroad really is unique to you. So what you may want in a study abroad could be very different than one of your best friends or one of your colleagues or classmates in the same major that you're in. And so it's important to think about that program matching process and understanding your individual needs or preferences. Your programs, your preferences can change, right? So you might think that you're looking at a particular region or a particular academic focus, and that may change before you go abroad. So going in and updating the program matching or making sure that the preferences that you've entered really are getting you the types of options you're interested in is an important part of using that tool. Right now, your PTRL's Abroad information is not directly linked to your Oglethorpe information. We're working on trying to have that integrated. And until it's integrated, it means making sure that your PTRL's Abroad profile is up to date as much as possible, letting me know what your major is, letting me know the type of who your academic advisor is, the type of academic program, is going to make sure that when I send emails, I'm targeting specific scholarships or new program options to the students based on what's in your Petros Abroad profile and your preferences. So once you get into your preferences and the matching, you can actually explore programs based on the fit. So there's an easy way for you to identify how aligned this program is with the preferences you've indicated. And after you've opened the brochure and via TRM and started to explore programs, you can even favorite. And so you get down to, comparing and contrasting different programs, and it allows me or anyone with via TRM access to talk to you about those different programs in an advising scenario. So let's talk about that, your supporters. It's really important to think about who your supporters are, what type of activities you're going to participate in while you're studying abroad is going to make a difference. So I have a poll in a minute that I'm going to put up and ask you a little bit about who you think your supporters are, because nobody should be doing this alone. And although the Global Ed Office is a primary resource, there's going to be lots of people involved in your study abroad journey. The Oglethorpe Study Abroad application is embedded in via TRM, so you'll be able to submit an application to study abroad in the portal. That is the process or the application that's used by Oglethorpe to make decisions and to support you with financial aid and the forms and different activities related to actually going abroad. We'll talk a little bit later when we talk about the different programs. There may be other application forms that are external to via TRM, depending on the type of program you select. And then there are preparations to go abroad. And like I said, inside via, there are forms that would be filled out. You upload your passport or your visa information, and it allows us to keep everything central inside your account. So I'm gonna do a quick stop share here and share a couple of polls. So the first one, if you'll take a couple of minutes, and for any of you that don't see the poll, I'm sorry if you're on a phone or other electronics where you can't see it, but if you'll take a quick minute, I'd love to see and share with everyone when you're considering abroad. Give you a couple more seconds. So I'm going to share really quickly just so everyone can see. There's a lot, right? There's a lot going on. There are a handful of students participating today interested in summer, which is great. This is perfect timing. And there's also lots of interest in many other semesters are not quite sure yet, which is really great. So there is no right answer for this. And I again, just appreciate you sharing a little bit with me so I know who's in the room. All right, one more poll before we go on. And so I'd like to know, when you think about who your supporters are or who you would involve in this study abroad journey. So this is a multi-select again. Who are the people that you think will need to be involved in this exploration of study abroad and making it possible? I'm gonna, almost everybody's voted. I just want to make sure I give everyone a couple more seconds. Okay. Well, so I'm glad to see that global education is on that list, but it's also really important. Again, I can't emphasize enough that it really is a team of people to support you. And so family and friends, the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office for sure, and figuring out your budget and talking about how your aid will apply to study abroad. I see your faculty advisors, pretty common, and professors as well. Faculty here have an enormous amount of information and history with study abroad. And so if you're looking for additional support, they're a great place to start. And no matter what, they're going to need to support some decisions around academics and courses. And we'll talk a little bit about how different programs have different academic decision-making. But I'm glad to see that there's a good list here of options in terms of who you would involve in your study abroad experience. So I'm going to go back to our screen sharing here. And again, knowing who your supporters are is really important as you begin the exploration process. So 6 to 18 months before you plan to study abroad, this is a really good time to get in there, look at different program options, talk to those supporters and ask a few questions, start to solidify and compare those different options in terms of making some of your decisions. I'm not going to talk about scholarships in great detail, like I said, but I am going to mention a little bit later a few critical resources and opportunities, and applying early is really the key. Many of the deadlines for scholarships are 6 to 12 months in advance of when awarded. So deadlines for summer 2021, and I emphasized really only these 2 periods of time because I figured this would be the bulk of our participation. Our summer deadlines are March 1st for the application to Oglethorpe. And then there is a nominations process that is involved for some of the study abroad program providers or exchange partners. And that's generally anywhere between March and April. We try to get all of the application forms in our system by April 1st because, again, depending on the program you're participating, you may be leaving a month later or 45 days later. For fall 2021, the deadline's right after that, so April 1st. A big part of this, I know that fall seems so far away, is that during the summer, it's pretty difficult to navigate some of the steps that are needed when faculty aren't traditionally on campus and aren't as accessible. So it's really important that we get your applications early and that you complete some of those course approval forms and other activities while the supporters are easily accessible on campus, primarily faculty. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different options. And I'm going to focus on 4-credit study abroad today. There are, a lot of different options available, and some of those include non-credit programs abroad. So that could be service or volunteerism, or maybe even just intensive travel that involves some sort of internship. If you want to talk about those things, I'm still a resource to you and I still am happy to support you. But for this particular topic tonight and in general, my office focuses a lot more on 4-credit study abroad. So faculty-led really means that you submit an Oglethorpe study abroad application to participate in a program that a Oglethorpe faculty member is directing, is coordinating. And generally that would mean you're going to pay for your Oglethorpe tuition, and there will be a program fee that covers some of the expenses related to that travel. Many times the transportation is included, although sometimes faculty choose to have transportation separate so that it allows more flexibility. So there's some variability there in how the program cost is determined, or whether it's packaged together or separately. But you can always count on an Oglethorpe faculty member teaching at least 1 course and potentially more, which means the class is automatically going to show up on your transcript and there's no course approval process. Traditionally, the Oglethorpe faculty take students abroad on programs that are about 2 weeks, although there's some range in that. And that's often during the summer semester. Although if we continue to have a January term, there may be some study abroad happening during that time as well. For faculty-led programs, Oglethorpe institutional aid and federal aid will be applicable toward the program cost. But something to consider also is that the scholarships are a little bit more limited. Oglethorpe faculty work really hard to try to keep the cost low. And that means for some students not having access to scholarships, they sort of balance out. I said earlier, we'll have a representative from Lead Abroad with us tonight in a little bit, but I want to emphasize that this partnership with Lead Abroad has been around almost 10 years now and is going strong. Lead Abroad is an external organization, but it offers the benefit of Oglethorpe faculty teaching courses on the LEAD and the GO programs. So those are the two programs that are for credit. So you would still, like I said, complete an Oglethorpe study abroad application that applies for all of these types of programs. But there is a separate Lead Abroad process as well, because they, as an organization, have their own systems and information that they gather from their participants. So we try not to duplicate too much, but there are some things that will be done separately with Lead Abroad outside of the Oglethorpe application. The Lead Abroad program fees are all listed on their website. And again, the transportation and what those programs include vary slightly, but it is all very well described on their website. Oglethorpe faculty, again, they're teaching the courses, and so there's no course approval process because it will just show up on your Oglethorpe transcript. And the benefit of Lead Abroad programs is you're with Oglethorpe students as well as other students from around the US. So faculty-led programs are simply your faculty member and Oglethorpe students, a big difference there. I'm going to leave the rest of the Oglethorpe or the Lead Abroad programs to Carolyn when we switch in a couple of minutes, but know that federal aid can be applied toward the program cost, although summer financial aid does vary individual to individual. And there are some external as well as Oglethorpe scholarships that are available for Lead Abroad programs. So exchange partners or international partners are universities that we have partnerships with abroad. Exchange really means that we're sending students to that campus abroad as well as receiving students, whereas an international partner is us sending students abroad, but we don't necessarily receive students from that partner organization. So there's not really a significant difference for you as an individual, but for the campus, it means that we're going to have a different experience when it comes to how well we engage in bilateral relationships. For an exchange and an international partner, you will need to submit an Oglethorpe Study Abroad application as well as an application to that exchange university or that international partner. So again, we have two separate processes that happen simultaneously. You'll pay your Oglethorpe tuition as well as the Oglethorpe Study Abroad fee, which is a $300 administrative fee to help support some of the things we do in the office. And then there will be travel or living expenses that you would cover while you're abroad. And because the exchange and international partner programs are traditionally for a 1 or 2 semester period, your expenses are going to be very different than a 5-week program or a 2-week program. So when you're thinking about budgeting, that's something to take into consideration. Again, the cost of living may be something else that's a big variable depending on the country you choose. The cost could be less than living in Atlanta, or it could be more than living in Atlanta. For the exchange and international partner programs, you will be able to, or we expect all students will earn Oglethorpe credit, but it would be based on something called a course approval form. So your Oglethorpe faculty member is involved in making decisions that help you identify which courses are best to take abroad and which courses can transfer the credit back to your Oglethorpe degree. The goal really is to align your classes with the requirements that you need to take here at Oglethorpe. And so again, it's a conversation with faculty. The basis of that partnership means we're going to accept every credit we possibly can, but it's about how it aligns with your academic goals here and the classes that are remaining. We have partnerships right now in a number of countries, including Argentina, Austria, Ecuador, France, Germany, Iceland, Italy, Japan, Monaco, which is a lovely part of France, Netherlands, Spain, Switzerland. And for any of our exchange or international partner programs, if you are studying for a full semester, you receive, as a part of the course approval process, you'll request permission for the equivalency of either 301 or 302. And so you get to decide which course you would like to be waived, basically, from your requirements here back at Oglethorpe. You'll receive the equivalency as a part of your study abroad semester. The exchange and international partner programs are highly intensive. You know, those are going to be programs where you're living mostly with non-United States students, where you're going to be in a community much like Oglethorpe, where you're directly enrolled in the university campus. It's a really exciting way to study abroad, but it isn't necessarily for every student. And so there's some things to think about in terms of the level of autonomy and the level of responsibility that is put on a student who's participating in that type of a program. Oglethorpe institutional aid and federal student aid will apply for exchange and international partner programs. And there are also external and Oglethorpe scholarships that could be available to support students on those types of programs. So the last type of program is what we would call an authorized provider. So there are hundreds and hundreds of study abroad or organizations that support study and internship abroad. Those are private entities that Oglethorpe does not have a direct relationship with, like we do with Lead Abroad, but we may authorize a provider to ensure that our students have streamlined support and that the course approval process for participating in that study abroad is easier. And so I see a question in the chat, would that be like CIEE? Yes, it would be. And that's one of the things I was just going to emphasize. So CIEE, AIFS, we have authorization or partnerships with about 14 different study abroad providers. But we're also open. If you found a program and it wasn't necessarily one that we've authorized before, our faculty here are very eager to work with students and identify if that is a course equivalency that we can support. For the most part, what we're trying to do is narrow. There are thousands and thousands of options for studying abroad all over the world. And what we're trying to do is give you lots of options, but not necessarily 1,000 options to sort through. So we work with some recognized and long-term partners to try to help you streamline where those programs are. So if you're looking at an authorized study abroad provider or an internship abroad, know that, again, there's going to be a separate application outside of your Oglethorpe application. That's because that organization has its own processes and some of their own steps that they would expect that you take. You're going to also pay program provider fees. So you pay the program provider directly. Oglethorpe is not, except for our partnership with Oxford, directly involved with paying any of the fees. So do know that you become much more responsible for maintaining that relationship with the study abroad provider. You will, be expected to earn at least 12 credit hours, just like the other programs. And the idea being the course approval process is used to evaluate which courses are best suited for you to take abroad and ensure that transfer of credit. Again, because study abroad providers, their business is study abroad, there are locations around the world, literally in almost every country. And the level of immersion or how much you would be studying directly at an institution, enrolling with students from that country, or studying more on an island with other US students varies greatly based on the program. So it's a big part of why that program matching is useful, because you can identify your preference and then align that preference with the programs that show up in your feed. In almost all instances, federal student aid would be applicable to an authorized provider, study abroad, or internship. And in some cases, there are some external or internal OU scholarships available. I really want to highlight that virtual internships and study abroad are something that have always existed. They didn't just come out of the pandemic that we're experiencing, but they have absolutely grown and changed and have become very successful, and students are reporting back really good things about the opportunities that are available right now to participate in a intercultural or global experience without necessarily even leaving the US. So please do consider taking advantage of a virtual internship if you're trying to think about options before you study abroad, or at least explore what those options might be if study abroad doesn't become available as a backup plan. So there was a chat in the about the 301 and 302. And so if you've already finished those courses, I'm really sorry. It's just an equivalency. You don't actually get those credits on your transcript. And so you've missed, unfortunately, one of the benefits of studying abroad, but it isn't something that is going to prevent you from going. So it's just something that isn't going to apply in your instance because you've already taken that course. Okay, so financial planning, really important as you're exploring. So again, a big part of the exploration process is to really think about your costs and what your budget is, and identify, what you're spending to study here at Oglethorpe now. Can you take on more cost? Do you need it to be about the same cost or less costly than being here for a student? Everyone's needs are a little bit different. I can talk through individually with students, as does the financial aid office, about how your cost of education and the FAFSA might apply for study abroad. The costs in the program brochures give you a pretty good idea when you're in VIA. And then the program providers, if you're going to be working with one, they can go into much more detail about different options. If you have a particular budget you're looking at, they can potentially give you, some options that would fit within that budget. I've put a link here in this slide, and like I said, I'll send it back out. But this is a directory. It's not 100% complete, but it is pretty thorough, that is available right now to you on the Oglethorpe Global Ed website, of scholarships specifically for study abroad. So I want to talk about a couple of them, because study abroad scholarships do have a particular cycle that is like I said, 6 to 12 months before the actual program itself. And so I really encourage students to be thinking, if you're a Pell eligible student, about the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, which is a US Department of State scholarship for summer and fall 2021 programs. The deadline for applying is March 1st. I'm happy to connect you with resources and support you as you start to write your application. I've seen a couple of very successful students study abroad recently with Gilman, and anticipate involving them in our Financial 101 session. So just know we'll focus on Gilman a little bit more in that session. There's another organization called Fund for Education Abroad that has a scholarship program that just opened up this week. It always opens up mid-November, and it's open through January 20th. That's a little bit more broad. It's really for programs that are 4 weeks or greater. It is a little bit about financial need, but it also is about the type of student that they're trying to encourage to study abroad. And I think Oglethorpe students in many instances meet those needs very well. GPA is a part of the process, so go ahead and look at the Fund for Education Abroad link on our directory and do some research there. And then one that's not on our directory because it's changed a little bit very recently in the last week or so is a program specifically through CIEE called the Frederick Douglass Scholarship. And this is a fellowship actually for 10 students, full paid, to study in Dublin, Ireland in summer 2021 for about 4 weeks. This particular program is specifically targeting underrepresented students based on ethnicity. At this point can and benefit from having more diverse population of students studying abroad. Lots of women and lots of growth in other places to diversify study abroad. So that's a couple of things about financial planning. Really quick before I hand it over to Carolyn in the next slide, our representative from Lead Abroad, just a quick review. So take some time to explore, talk to your supporters, know that throughout this process, you're probably going to cycle back and talk to supporters again, get some feedback, get some support on just different decisions you may need to make or different steps. Establishing a budget and what your academic and personal goals and needs are is super important in this process in order for you to decide on the best fit. So I think using VIA TRM to identify your favorite programs and start to compare and narrow down the pool is a good start. Making sure that if you're going to look at programs with an authorized study provider, that you go to their website as well and complete any of their application forms. And then know that we will have some pre-departure activities that we encourage and expect most students to participate in. Those that are participating with Lead Abroad have a separate orientation, and those with some of the authorized study abroad providers, again, we often try not to duplicate, but just recognize that we will continue throughout the process before you go abroad to get you ready for that wonderful journey ahead. And so with that, I'm gonna stop my screen share and ask Carolyn if she will, I think I can, do I need to unmute you or can you do it yourself?
Yeah, I can do it here. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for letting me pop in here for a little bit. So excited to see all these faces and everyone who's interested in studying abroad. I know 2020 has been quite the year, but we are looking ahead to the future and we are excited about what 2021 will bring. My name is Carolyn and I am with Lead Abroad. So like Marissa mentioned, we are essentially a study abroad provider within Oglethorpe. So we have a variety of programs that go to multiple different countries, and we take students from universities all over the map, but they are all Oglethorpe programs where you'd receive Oglethorpe credits. So it's a really great benefit for all of you because that transfer process is really easy. You can also study abroad with some of your favorite professors. So we've got Dr. Matt Wild, Dr. Amanda Prince Woolley, we've got Dr. Jeffrey Collins. I could go on, but a lot of the most incredible professors at Oglethorpe have traveled with us for many, many summers. So I just want to share a couple quick pictures of some of my favorite shots from our past programs. I'm just going to hold up my phone so you guys can take a look that way. We'll do it old school style.
I just updated program or share settings if you decided you want to do anything different.
Oh, okay, thanks. So there's 4 different types of programs that we have at Lead Abroad. So they're Go, Lead, Direct, and Pro. Go programs are more of your traditional study abroad. They're about 5 weeks long in destinations like Rome and Barcelona. So you'd take 2 classes while you're there, and you'd have 3-day weekends to explore One of the cool things that we changed this year is that in Rome specifically, there's an option to take 1 class and then also do a virtual internship, like Marissa was mentioning. So if you're kind of in the place where you're like, I really need some professional experience this summer as well as study abroad, this really blends the best of both worlds together because you get that class and then you also get to do an internship. You'll be doing a couple different micro internships with European companies, and this is supported by our UK-based partner. So very international. You'll be talking to people in London and Spain and Italy, of course. So that is called the pro option. And then while you're there, you get to enjoy this delicious type of pizza and pasta, and then literally shaved truffles on your pizza. It's like the greatest thing you've ever had. So the food in Rome and Barcelona, of course, lives up to the hype. The next type of programs we have are called our lead programs. These are focused more on leadership and service. And so you would take 2 classes while you're there, but they're very hands-on. So this is out of the classroom, in the community, of course, making adjustments for COVID safety in the coming years, but really getting a chance to determine your personal leadership style while you're really getting to know the local culture, whether you're in Cape Town, South Africa, or in Greece. Both of these options also have a huge adventure component. So you might be walking with elephants like this cool girl here, or you might be shark cage diving where they film Discovery Channel Shark Week. I kid you not. Every year we see like 14, 16-foot sharks, which is just awesome. And then the next type of programs that we have are our direct programs. So if you're listening and you're like, this sounds amazing, but I don't have time, I'm totally jammed for next summer. These are just 2-week programs. So they're right away in May, and they're really easy to knock out before you take classes here or you've got internship. We have direct programs next summer in Cape Town and in Greece as well. And then last but not least, we have our pro programs, which are that professional focus. So if you're thinking that healthcare is your jam, you're inspired by the need in the pandemic, and you're going to go into pre-med, pre-nursing, pre-PT, we have a program in Costa Rica, which is facilitated with local pop-up clinics where you can really get that hands-on medical experience. You might be wearing your scrubs on a day like this and working with the communities. And then we also have a more business focused option in Cape Town. So that's where, again, you get to do those micro internships and work with our team all over the map. So pro, lead, direct, go. I know it's a lot of information, but if you remember anything, just remember that they are 2 to 5 weeks. They're all in the summer, and it's our team and my job specifically to make this process as easy as possible. So if you're thinking about going and just want to kind of compare your options, someone in our team would be happy to set up a chat with you, hop on the phone, and then we text you all the info you need to know along the way. We're also happy to talk with your parents as well, since we know it is a family decision about and also a big investment of time and money as well. But you're in really good hands at Oglethorpe. We work with a ton of offices, and Oglethorpe is the best at facilitating this process and giving you guys a lot of choice so that you guys can decide like what is the best option for you, and they'll really work with you to make it happen. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. If there's anything specific about Lead Abroad you're wondering or anything like that. Somebody go ahead and chat me some or come off mute. Nothing? All right, well, I will make sure that you guys have my contact info, and if anything does come up, I would absolutely love to chat with you guys and help you decide about the best program. I do want to make sure you guys know that we do have some scholarships that are only available to Oglethorpe students. So that is a huge, huge benefit because this is our partner institution. So if you're looking and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make it work financially, definitely still talk with us because we do have that scholarship option just for OU students. Perfect. Is there anything else you wanted me to touch on today, Marissa?
No, I think that's it. I put up, I hope everyone saw the screen share. I put up Carolyn's name and the Lead Abroad website. Again, Carolyn and her team and all the folks with Lead Abroad are really accessible, normally would be on campus like the rest of us, but are used to working by phone, by email, by chat and social media. So just reach out to them and know that we're in regular contact. Thank you, Peter, for putting in, and Carolyn putting in your email.
Yeah, absolutely. My email is in there, so feel free to shoot me a message. And then I also put our Instagram handle. That's really the best way to get to see a sneak peek of all the programs. We have thousands of photos up there, and you can follow the hashtag Lead Abroad Life, and you will see another 5,000 photos from our students who posted. So really great way to kind of get a sense for what the program's like.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
All
My
right.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks. So we have a couple of students who returned from study abroad. I'm going to give Lola and Grace a couple minutes to get settled and camera ready. But I wanted to do as a break another round of polls. Sorry for the polls, but it really is going to help me in terms of getting a sense of where we are. So after a little bit of time, how much more confident are you in understanding some of the program types? And forgive that there's two I's in there, that I didn't see my spelling opportunity there. Okay, so most people are feeling a little bit better. That's good. Know that again, we're here for questions. This is a lot of stuff, right? There's a good bit of nuance to study abroad. And so because there are those different program options, know here to answer any questions. What about, I know many of you have already a VIA TRM account, but how about just the exploring piece? Comfort with using VIA, getting in there, exploring, understanding your preferences. All right, good. Okay, so most people, again, feeling pretty good. And then my last question, thinking about planning, did I do a decent job giving you an idea of some of the steps? How are you feeling about what things you can start to do and where to focus your time as you begin to plan for study abroad? Okay. Anyone else? I'll give it a little bit more. All right. Okay. So I've got a little bit of work to do there. Let's, I'll consider that when I do a follow-up email and some of the outreach that we'll be doing in the coming weeks around study abroad planning and the financing for study abroad. And so for right now, I'd like to flip it and begin to talk with our student panelists. And so I am going to hand it over and not introduce you myself and actually let you introduce yourselves. These are three students who have participated in study abroad recently, and I'm going to go in the order in which I see you. So Lola, you're first, and then Christina, and then Grace. And so if you'll just take a quick minute to introduce yourself, your name, your major or majors, Lola, where you studied abroad and when, and with what type of program, so that folks who are here can connect to the different program type.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lola, and I am currently a senior, and I'm pursuing double major in politics and economics. And I studied abroad at the University of Oxford this past spring. What else? And that was with the Oxford Study Abroad program. Am I missing anything? I think that's it.
Nope, that was it. Thank you. All right, your turn, Christina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Mitchell. I'm a junior at Oglethorpe, but I'm actually graduating early, so I guess I'm a senior. It feels weird saying that. I am a sociology major and Spanish minor, and I studied abroad summer 2019 for the Lead Abroad Go Barcelona program. And I studied Barcelona Art and Architecture, and I also took a Spanish class while I was there.
Thank you. All right, Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm a senior. I'm a major in international relations or studies, whatever they're calling it these days. And I also went to Oxford with Lola.
Great. Thank you. So I have a couple of questions for you ladies. And everyone wants to know why, what motivated you to study abroad? There's a lot of different reasons that you might have gone abroad. And so if you could touch on that in this first question. And how about we flip the order, and Grace, you get to go first.
So if you couldn't tell before, I have a bit of an accent. I'm actually from Australia. And I really believe in a global education. And I think that stemmed from when I was a kid. I lived in Singapore for a couple of years, and that's sort of where that global education for me stemmed from. Also, I saw that we had the Oglethorpe partners with the University of Oxford, and I saw that as a great opportunity to really just expand my knowledge and even just focus a bit more on the subjects that maybe Oglethorpe can't offer me, just because of the size of the university. But I just saw it as a great opportunity to expand what I was exploring in my major. I focused in post-World War II Eastern and Western European relations, and I also did international law, and international law was something that I didn't think I could do until graduate school in the US. And so I saw that as a great opportunity, and I also realized what great resources the University of Oxford has. It has the largest library in the world, so it's not hard to find a book there that you need.
Thank you. How about you, Christina?
So it was actually a very easy decision for me to study abroad, because I came into college knowing that I wanted to study abroad. I actually wanted to study abroad twice, but then Corona happened, so I didn't get that chance. But I just always thought it was important to explore new cultures, and I always have loved traveling. So I wanted to be able to explore a new culture in a very structured way, and in a way that I was still learning. So study abroad was just like an easy option for me. And it was an amazing way to travel at a pretty affordable price with the way that Oglethorpe structures it, and being able to kind of take classes and be immersed in the culture is just a phenomenal experience. And it was a very easy decision to make. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, Lola?
Yes, so I always wanted to study at the University of Oxford. It was my biggest dream when I was growing up. So one of the reasons why I actually decided to come to Oglethorpe University was because I learned that there was, they had a partnership with University of Oxford. So it was no brainer for me. And also I had some of my sorority sisters, like about 3 of them, who had studied abroad in South America, in France. And, they told me about how awesome, how great, and how much they were having fun. So I wanted to enjoy that, and I wanted to be a part of that. Also, like Christina, I was very curious, and I just wanted to, just travel and just experience, what it means to be in a different country, and now to, live where I'm at, and move out of my comfort zone. So yeah.
Well, that is a perfect segue, Lola. I'm going to pick on Christina first. What was a challenge that you anticipated? And I think living outside your comfort zone is probably something you anticipated, but you may have something else. What's a challenge you anticipated before studying abroad? And then, how did you navigate that, or how did you work through that? And what about any unexpected challenges? Share a little bit about that.
So a challenge I anticipated was definitely the language barrier. So the thing about Barcelona is that, yes, they speak Spanish, but they also speak Catalan, and I do not speak Catalan. So I knew that that would definitely be a challenge for me. But luckily, I was taking a Spanish class. I actually had a friend that lived in Valencia, and he spoke Catalan, so he was kind of able to help me a little. And I was also just very dedicated to kind of upping my language game. So I would say that's how I navigated that challenge. I was able to kind of be able to practice the Spanish that I already knew, but also use what I was learning in my classes to kind of navigate the city itself and the people that I would run into. I want to say an unexpected challenge was, I guess it's a very practical one, navigating public transportation in a city where I am not as fluent as I thought I was in the language, and also in a large cosmopolitan city in general. I definitely had a hard time just kind of living on my own, being able to navigate this new place on my own. I definitely did get lost a couple of times. I definitely did have to talk to strangers, but I kind of overcame that challenge just by just getting out of my comfort zone, asking people for directions in Spanish and Catalan, and kind of just putting myself out there and hoping for the best. And it turned out to be one of my best experiences ever. And I ended up meeting the most amazing people because of this challenge that I thought that I wouldn't be able to tackle. So.
Great, thank you. Grace, do you want to share something you anticipated in terms of a challenge and how you got through it, and maybe an unexpected challenge?
Something I did anticipate as a challenge was trying to be social over there, because the work you're doing is very independent. I was a bit worried about how to interact with the locals a bit more, but it was great because the college I went to over there had a soccer team that I could join, so I just joined that. Something that I didn't really anticipate was just the long hours I would spend in the library. There was a couple of days a week I'd spend about 8 hours in the library, but I enjoyed it. I didn't find it like too challenging. I just wasn't expecting it.
Intense. How about you, Lola?
I would say the weather. Like, I think I was overthinking. Honestly, I was overthinking. I thought it was going to be like super cold because I'm from Nigeria and we don't deal with the cold. So, I brought like a huge coat. I had a big umbrella that I eventually forgot at home. I was really worried about it. But then it turned out really well. Like, it rained a lot, but it wasn't like it wasn't terrible rain that you couldn't walk in. Like, I just was overthinking. And I would say I was thinking that I wasn't going to, I guess interact well with my roommates, but then it was so much fun. Like, I'm looking at Grace right now and I'm so happy that I get to see her because it was just so much fun, just like hanging around and just like talking about your day and how different it is, and, going out together. It was just so much fun. Something I did not anticipate was definitely COVID-19, because it cut all of our plans short, and then we had to like come back home. Um, but I'm so happy that, I decided to go during the spring and not wait, because if I had waited, that would have been, worse. But during the period of time that we had, I think I was able to like get enough experience before, the whole lockdown happened. So yeah.
Okay. So really quickly, and then I want to open it up to questions from those that are participating or here today. How do you see the study abroad shaping or impacting any future plans? And so I think I'll start with Lola again, just because left to right, right to left.
The question was, how was it going to change my future?
How has your study abroad shaped or impacted any future plans?
Yeah, definitely. I did not realize how much I loved food until study abroad. And I know it sounds funny, but it's so true. I did not realize how much I loved food. So now I'm even more curious to explore that side of me, and even like travel. I never really thought, I would want to like travel the world and do this and do that. But it's definitely like top of my list now of things I want to do, in the next few years, to just travel more and experience people and meet different people. And know how to respect people, definitely. And also, me studying abroad made me realize that I actually really I actually would like to study, my postgrad abroad and not in the US. So this is definitely how it really changed me, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And I definitely say it was one of the best moments of my life. I've learned so much about myself, just personally, and things that I want to add to my future plans, and I'm very grateful for it.
Thank you. Christina, do you want to share how your study abroad has impacted, even if you didn't get to do a second? What's next, right?
My study, those 5 weeks in Barcelona, I say to this day were the best 5 weeks of my life. Like those, like I just was able to learn so much from my classes and just from the people around me, and it definitely has shaped me into the person that I am today. immersion is the best way to learn a new language. And so my Spanish improved like astronomically while I was there. And so like going forward, I definitely want to kind of continue to travel more and continue to go to Spanish speaking countries and practice and learn more about the language and culture in other sects of the world. And it's just, studying abroad has like opened my world to all the possibilities that are out there. And so I definitely think that now I want to either work abroad or go to graduate school abroad just from that experience. So it's definitely shaped who I am as a person and what my future will look like.
Thank you. All right.
So it's impacted me a lot. So I'm graduating in the spring, and I actually plan to move over to the UK on like a special visa that Australians can get to live in the UK for a bit. So I'm actually planning on moving over there once I graduate, just because I realize that sort of lifestyle is just like the perfect lifestyle for me.
8 hours in the library sounds lovely. All right, well, we have a little bit of time. I know it's been just about an hour for most everyone, and I don't want to keep folks longer than an hour or so, but I do want to make sure if you have any questions for anyone who's here of the student panelists, for me, that we take an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to stop the recording